It's very good.
Beauty is something that can be learned, practiced, and gazed at. But what makes a place beautiful? We all have different standards and perspectives to leave off from. You might find it in an intricately woven knit pattern, or the familiar scent of your pet's fur, or even the inexplicable feeling that washes over you in front of a painting that just makes you feel something. Siargao is the perfect canvas of an idyllic Filipino island. Everything you see in a postcard can be found here. But ultimately, what draws you in is the people. From all walks of life and every corner of the globe, it sews a tapestry of intertwined cultures. One that you'd love to insert yourself in. To experience beauty is to make it become a part of you. You can picture yourself driving a scooter to the perfect soundtrack of your life, slowly becoming a part of the island. That's the Siargao magic. We all wanted to keep Siargao a secret, but that's not how the world works. Its story starts like any other Filipino island, inhabited by locals, living their lives, surviving through trade, fishing, and agriculture, until it was sighted by a Spanish navigator in 1543 who charted it as Isla de las Palmas. Those coconuts are still here. Everything else is different. In the early 90s, photographer Seaton Callahan joined a group of surfers who were exploring the Philippines. They ended up in Siargao after a long trip, as was customary back then. Once on the island, they realized that they weren't the first foreign surfers to reach its shores. Others had braved the waves before them, Mike Boyum being the most famous one. The photographer John ended up taking pictures of the surfers he was with, surfing the wave that he ended up calling Cloud 9 because he thought it looked like the no-melt chocolate bar that's still popular today. It was on the front page of an international surf magazine, and the rest, as they say, is history.
White sand beaches and blue turquoise water, two things that you don't necessarily expect from seeing on the mainland of Siargao, and this is exactly why we want to do this video. We've done 2 videos here before, but I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of what makes this place so unique and magical in the Philippines. These were shot pre-pandemic and pre-Odette, which was a huge typhoon, yet the island has bounced back so fast, and that's because of the amazing community that is here, a mix of foreigners, of Filipinos, and locals from Siargao working together to make sure that this becomes a sustainable haven for tourism for years to come and a great economic driver for the region. So I want to show you some of the best bites that you can now have in this island, but I also want to talk about the major underlying issues that the island faces when it comes to catering to the influx of tourists that are coming in. But more importantly, I want to try to figure out what makes this place so special compared to other beautiful places that we have in the Philippines. And I think I'll be able to do that by having these amazing conversations, tasting amazing food. The humba is very good.
That's so good.
And just having a good time. I'm just so happy to be back. That was a really refreshing swim. In fact, the north of Siargao remains one of my favorite. It's really kind of just still quiet, still pristine, and reminds me of what Siargao was before all of this kind of happened. We're actually gonna dig deeper into the food systems of this whole island. There's so many restaurants, the demand must be huge. So how are people kind of supplying and feeding themselves? So we're on our way to Lebron and Dwyane, which I've never heard of before, and we're gonna meet there Karen and Analyn, who are the perfect people to kind of dig deeper into the subject with. Hi po. Hello.
This is probably not where you were expecting we would start. But if you're on the lookout for uncrowded waves and start developing a hunger, This eatery, named after a basketball-obsessed father's sons, Lebron and Dwyane Wade, is a great place to grab a bite. They make all the Filipino classics that you'll keep coming back for at the beach.
Pagdating ko dito, sir, marami ng foreigner. Kaya nawili na rin kami talaga mag-business dito. Mas nagustuhan ko ba dito sa probinsya. Simple lang ang buhay, di katulad sa Manila ba, hindi sa magulo na marami ng tao. Ngayon, sir, nakikilala na uli nila yung Pacifico. Kasi pag sinabi mo kasi Siargao, General Luna kagad ang Pero pag napuntahan to ng mga foreigner o local, mas gusto na nila mag-stay dito. Tapos yung beach, nandyan lang. Maganda yung alon, mga surfer talaga, sir. Matagal nag-i-stay dito.
So I first visited, I think, 2018, and then I moved here 2019, and that's because I just graduated from college and I was volunteering in several NGOs, and that's when I found this farm, Bayatakan Farm, which Ate Analyn owns. They already started the Lokal Tabo, where they created a platform to sell local produce and create this whole network of farmers. And when I came along, that's when we kind of formalized. It's like, okay, you guys are doing great stuff. Like, let's formalize as an NGO so we can start, getting grants, getting funding, and really just showcase what we're doing here in the island.
Our plan, being Lokal Lab and to help the community, it's unplanned also. It's like we are just aligning into what is the demand of the market as of now. So, and then even us, we're struggling how to be consistent in our products.
Yeah, I guess like for some background, like before we started Lokal also, the importation to the island of vegetables was at 97%. So imagine like coming from Surigao, if you ask some of the markets, they come from Baguio even. And you're like, that food is traveling all the way here when you see so much farmland and that there is potential to have farming here. Why we started was really in terms of like food security. Like you should be able to grow your own food. You live in an island. Like that's how island cultures were way back. Like they would fish their own food, they grow their own food, and kind of bring that back and like, but first like ensuring that you're able to grow food for your community and then as an extra source of income that you can supply to the tourism industry here. So that's the restaurants and the resorts.
Are the local Siargaoans kind of starting to realize that they do have a lot of special things to offer? Is that kind of coming out? Like people are getting proud of the produce that they have, or do you feel that at all?
San Isidro, they have a huge river. There's so many clams there, but we are not harvesting it. We are not doing market out of that one. So we're starting to have a produce because of Roots is buying our clams also. And like that's the time that the people is aware that there's money.
Yeah.
So there's money on the clams, there's money on the nipa flower. So now we're starting to step up, level up.
Food is a really important subject here. While the island is getting more popular with tourists and everyone wants to open a restaurant, you would think that there would be an abundance of food sources.
Pinaka-goal ni Lokal Lab is to help really the community spread out the nature of farming, the nature-based farming, to make the people aware that we need to save our environment and this island to become a sustainable island in the future.
Hi, I'm Cara. I'm one of the co-founders of Lokal Lab Siargao. So we're a grassroots NGO that started back in 2017. And our goal is really looking towards shaping Siargao as that model self-sustainable island for other island communities in the Philippines. The goal is how can we be a platform for the local community to achieve their potential. We want to take that position of the platform that we have, that Siargao has its name, has its branding, and people want to help it progress. Because it's how could we be like a living laboratory where we gather so many different people from so many different backgrounds, all working towards the same goal, which is really towards a sustainable island. One reason why we also exist is because we're scared that the progress in Siargao is gonna be similar to that of Boracay or that of Bali, where progress was happening so fast that farmers begin to sell their land to resorts, or that the locals, a lot of the livelihoods here they import the livelihoods from different islands, and that's not what we want for Siargao. So we're pretty lucky that we have this narrative in the first place, where we're here at the start trying to shape it in a way where no, this is still the island of the Siargaonons and that you have to respect that culture. And it's not as if we're other islands where you're gonna build these buildings and like build what you want to build. It's respecting that culture, and that's something that we really want to preserve in that island. I didn't even know he was but I would hear he's also
So I'm not a farmer, I'm nurse by profession. Tapos nag-work sa Maynila, tapos nag-apply mag-abroad pero hindi pinalad mag-abroad. So bumalik ako dito sa Siargao. Dinala lang ng pagkakataon and like doon ako nag-umpisa, hinanap ko yung lupa ng tatay ko na matagal nang hindi namin nakikita. Since pinanganak ako, hindi ko nakikita. So nung bumalik ako dito, doon sa isang barangay sa Burgos, nung nakikita ko na yung mga tao, nakikita ko yung lupa, doon ako nag-start na magtanim na. Naisip ko ano yung maibigay kong tulong sa mga kamag-anak ko.
We're here in Tropical Academy, and basically like we started this around 2 years ago, and it was always one of our goals as Lokal to put up a school for island communities. So as Lokal started to develop, when we started way back in 2017, our dream was always to create a space where we could really empower the local community, and we figured that was through education and vocational education. So here we're in our classroom structure of Tropical Academy. What we wanted really, so Mark, our other co-founder, he's an architect, what we wanted was an open air classroom where you could really feel that you're integrated to nature. So we're partners with TESTA and ATI, and what we wanted was really to create a vocational school. So slowly we've started with farming, eventually carpentry, culinary, and really just creating skills building and courses that the local community would really need. So there's that whole issue now with young farmers transitioning out of farming, especially also in an island community like Siargao, where a lot of them would rather go into tourism. So Lokal has 3 different programs. So we have one which is called the community building, which includes our FarmNet, our artisans, Lokal Lab, where we utilize coconut waste into different byproducts. Then we have the Lokal social enterprises, which is the hub. So there we have the Lokal experience. And we also have the 2 snack bars. So the hub in General Luna and the snack bar in Burgos. And then we have the Lokal Tabo, which falls under that wing. Because Siargao is a protected area, and we want being part of these conversations is able to give us a seat at the table where we're able to really advocate for the community, where often they don't have their voice to speak out. So in the island where Lokal first started, we found out that there's a 97% importation from the island, and now it's down to about 80 to 90%. I mean, that's still pretty high for an island, but what we kind of want to showcase is having that food security where you're able to grow what's here on the island, meet the demands, and that really just bring that number down. So you can help the local fishermen, the local farmers. I think the key to progress is really collaboration, and that also involves collaborating with the government. Because at the end of the day, you guys all want the same thing. You want the Siargaonons to be uplifted, and so it's really how can we work hand in hand together towards that one goal.
After visiting the farms, we were invited to a fiesta happening in Santa Monica.
Hi po! Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah. Thank you!
On one of the most northern parts of the island that remains still quite untouched by tourism, showing you that the island is still very much Filipino.
We didn't realize it was their fiesta today, so we're gonna stay on a little bit and see their procession, see if we can get some food, maybe go to someone's house, because that's what's so special about Filipino fiestas. People general on the day-to-day will open their doors for you, but fiesta, they open their doors and there's usually an abundance of food. Aside from that, what really surprised us is just how beautiful this town is. Usually when you drive kind of like in these smaller towns, Burgos, Pacifico, it's always very kind of quiet, very small. This feels a bit larger, but it's really organized, it's really clean, and since we're facing west, it's probably gonna be the best place to watch the sunset. And this kind of gives you that real Filipino provincial experience that I think people lose sight of when you're in Siargao. Yes, people go for GL, the parties and all that, surfing, but it's still very truly Filipino, and I think this fiesta is going to prove that today.
Religion plays a huge part in determining cultural values. While other islands like Bali integrated everything from Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, the Philippines was dominated by Christianity. Although it was adapted and fused with the indigenous polytheist animist faiths, it now plays a central role in most of our celebrations.
If you've never done a fiesta in the Philippines, always ask which day you're kind of coming on. Is it the feast day? Is it the actual church and procession day? And all of them have kind of different activities that usually happen. But usually what happens is after a long church session, they will proceed to kind of showing the idols depending on the town that you're in, the different saints that they do revere, follow around, and people kind of, it's a very religious celebration. Traditionally, all the houses would kind of open their doors and they have kind of these cooks that go around house to house preparing the food. And we found someone who lives here with a really interesting story who has invited us to come to her house to try some of their food. And she said they make really good humba over here, which I'm really excited of because we just made a video about humba, and I asked her, is it better than the Cebuano humba? And she said, you'll see. So we'll see. Hello, hi, Erwan. Very nice to meet you. Good evening po. Good evening.
I was wondering why foreigners are coming here.
Yeah.
And then
You're living
I was
outside.
Thinking, why I'm living here in Dubai while the others are enjoying our place?
Yeah. And then now that you're back, you understand it. You
I
see,
think
you see the excitement and everything.
Yeah. Mostly here it's quiet because we are on the north side.
Correct.
So it's not yet
As crazy.
as crazy as
Yeah.
the general Luna. So if you want to enjoy nightlife,
You
can
can,
just
yeah.
go to.
Correct.
But you have the best of both worlds here.
Yeah.
We have the farm, and then we have the beach.
Yeah.
So then
And everything's clean.
yes, we're
Okay.
giving thanks to all the blessings that we receive.
Yeah.
So we honor our patron saint, Santa Monica. And the way to honor them is to give back to the people.
Of course.
So you invite everybody. It's an open house, so you share your blessing.
Okay. That's the humba.
That's the famous one.
The one that's better than Cebu.
Hopefully.
Yes.
And I think this one is
Chop suey. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have the lobster, the small ones.
Amazing.
So this of course, the lumpia.
Yeah. Perfect fiesta food.
It's always the
So you were
it's
saying-
a combination of lechon and lumpia.
Okay. She was telling me after Dubai you set up a farm here, and you have now a lot of goats, which you've named. But I see no goats on the table.
No.
So
No
we're
goats,
not
please.
there yet.
No goats,
Okay.
Lord God, thank you for the food that we are about Monica for this. As we
It's very good. The humba is very good. That's crazy that you guys had 100 people for lunch.
Yeah, we were not actually expecting
That many people.
because it was just because there were barangay officials. There was a parade in the morning by the local government unit. So there was a parade and it was attended by all the barangay officials, the students.
Yeah.
And we were not expecting the people would be coming here. Maybe they knew that we were serving lunch, but it was intended for the barangay officials. And then the students came here. Everybody, I think maybe because not everybody was prepared.
Of course, yeah.
Ma'am, salamat mo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was good meeting you. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Siargao back in the 80s had one of the highest incidences of out-migration in the country. Locals also told us for their studies they had to go to the larger Surigao city a few hours by boat away. It's good to see a lot of them coming back here and creating a life. But other Filipinos from other regions are starting to call this place home as well, just like David from Cev.
So I first opened Sev in October 2018. This was, of course, my first restaurant, and I had no experience in running a restaurant at all. So it was all very new to me. And so I partnered with a bar called Luske's. Siya yung parang the most popular bar at the time here in Siargao, a very cool surf-oriented bar. I really wanted also to be part of their team, so we teamed up. And so when I opened Sev, it was all me, from the finances, the social media, the dining, the kitchen, the operations, everything. Gusto kong I am involved in every part of the business. So even with this restaurant now, which is our 4th location, everything here was done by me and my wife. The real reason why I wanted to move here is I wanted happiness in the form of a slower life.
Okay.
I had a very fast-paced life in finance before.
Yeah.
And I figured my happiness is food, and it's also surfing and being in the beach and having less choices, less temptation to buy stuff, and just appreciating the island, the natural beauty of everything, and also the people here. And that's why I moved here. And then I also wanted to promote something I believed in, which was Kinilaw. Kinilaw is to me a great representation of the country because we're islands, we're in the beach, and it's fresh. Also, it's very unique because ceviche is known all around the world, and all the ceviches use citrus. But Kinilaw is the only one that uses vinegar or coconut vinegar. So we're super unique in that sense, but to me it's equally as delicious as a ceviche. And everyone I speak to that has tasted ceviche, they love it.
Yeah.
The General Luna, you like it?
I have the same thing every time.
I'm the biggest fan of your set.
Oh, thank you.
Where you really felt like this was a small beach community.
It was.
Where every single person contributed something unique and special.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the biggest difference personally in what I've felt over the years is back then, a lot of the people that open businesses, you would meet them, if not in the water, in drinking a beer or something, you would meet all the business owners.
Correct.
And so all of you would support each other, hang with the locals. We're all one big happy community driven by surf. And that was such a magical time.
Correct.
I think nowadays, of course, with the rise of tourism, you get more people that don't spend time here and open a business here. That's the main difference. And so, let's say we hear about a hotel that has 100 rooms. I don't know who's behind that.
Correct.
No one knows who.
Yeah.
We just talk about it like, oh, did you hear about the 100-room thing? And so I guess that's capitalism slowly creeping into this island paradise, which we cannot avoid, obviously. It's really
the secret was bound to get out.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so I don't think anyone can really complain. We just have to roll with the punches, adapt to it. We love this island a lot, and that's why we're still here, and that's why we're still doing what we do. We've rebuilt this from Odette just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, everything was flat. Everything was destroyed like a bomb. So it's gotten so fast, the development. And that just goes to show how much love the outside has for Siargao and love the inside has for Siargao. We all love this place.
Yeah. And how, talking about that sustainability and that love for community, how important was it for you to make sure that you hire locals, that you kind of upskill them, right, and get them ready for...
Extremely important.
Yeah.
So many tourists, people from around the world that come to Siargao and eat here, and they're so happy. And they are the superstars, my staff. They are the ones cooking every day, serving the customers every day. And they are so good, so talented. I'm so happy to have them as my staff. And that's why my priority is to help them in their growth, in their career.
The main General Luna strip has gotten so busy. New stores, restaurants, all the food you could want. And if you look at satellite images available from 2012 onwards, you'll see how quickly it's gone from dirt roads to major developments. Since it all started because this became a surfing mecca, I wanted to hear from some of the locals who grew up surfing these waves. We followed Carlito Nogalo for a day to get his perspective on things.
Good morning, ako si Carlito Nogalo from Siargao. Ako dati, sumasama ako sa nanay at tatay ko, nagtatanim ng palay, tapos nagpi-fishing kami dito. Dito kami nagpi-fishing ng tatay ko kasi fisherman yung tatay ko eh. So yun parang yung hanap buhay namin.
Paano ka natuto mag-surf?
Actually, kumbaga, nung time na yun, pumunta lang ako ng Cloud9. So, matagal na yun. So, siguro mga 1997. So pagpunta ko doon sa Cloud9, parang nakita ko yung may nagsusurf ba. So sabi ko, sarili ko na, try ko kaya. So yun, isang beses yun, parang nakahiram ako ng board sa kaibigan ko. Dito lang, nagko-compete na ako dito sa Siargao, gano'n, pumupunta ng ibang lugar sa Pilipinas. Sponsor ko parang sabi niya, okay yung skill, gano'n, whatever. So sabi niya, papadala ka namin sa ibang bansa. So yun, pinadala nila ako doon sa, pinakauna ko sa Huntington Beach, California. So marami ng lugar ako na puntahan. Ako yung pinakaunang Pilipino na nag-compete around the world. The first Filipino professional surfer. Bilang isang surfer at bilang instructor, and then originally pa Siargao talaga. So kailangan talaga namin protektahan yung isla. Kahit sa yung paglilinis lang ng di ba, ng paligid, ito ganyan. So para magiging maganda pa rin yung yung isla, di ba? So kahit sa ganung paraan lang na So kasi malalungkot talaga kami pag kita namin sa beach, daming basura, gano'n. Para sa akin, sir, ang Siargao is parang paradise talaga siya kasi di ba yung iba nandito ka sa dagat and then kita mo yung island. Super ganda talaga. Tapos simpleng buhay lang talaga. Ang daming na-in-love na tao na pumupunta dito.
Aping and Ikit are known surfers on the island. They are considered the second generation of surfers who are just groms watching both foreign and local pros starting to take the sport seriously.
I feel like the island recovered very quickly.
Dami kasing tumulong.
From all around the world, right?
All around the world.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people kind of got together? Or is it because the community spirit here is so super strong?
Yeah, I think so because kadalasan yung mga pumupunta dito, sila yung nag-initiate talaga na mag-post. So siguro maganda yung mga memories nila dito, ma-feel nila yung community, ng mga tao.
Because now that it's getting so busy, do you feel like that community spirit is still there? Or is it changing a little bit?
I think it's changing.
Okay.
Yeah. Because mostly yung mga tourists dito, they fly there more. They come here because of surfing and relax.
Correct.
Now, there's party every night. I think party now is like the biggest thing here.
It's bigger than
from
surfing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yung iba, after pag-visit dito, business.
so mixed.
That's true. I remember before, I mean, when I say before, it's not a long time ago, like mga 6 years ago. Everyone was still here. Kahit you're a beginner or a professional, you were here to surf. So parang, I remember at the time, 5 a.m., you'd be in the lineup, and you'd see all the business owners, and they'd all be surfing together and everything like that. But now you're saying it's a lot of partying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just about the surfing.
Yeah. Okay.
I think now the island is known for party.
So what's your hope for the island in the future to make sure that it, because I feel like the development now it's a lot, but it's still very much concentrated sa GL. When you drive around the island,
quiet.
It's still fairly quiet.
Pacifico, it's starting
Yeah,
already.
to pick
Pero
up.
ito talaga yung pinaka-sentro ng tourism.
So is there anything that the locals can do or the businessmen that are coming here can do to make sure that the development is still still respects the island? What are your hopes as locals?
Ngayon kasi, mga presyo, grabe ka mahal.
Yeah, it's really expensive now.
Diba?
Yeah, the flights are.
Dito tayo sa pupunta sa Bali.
So parang nahihirapan kami ngayon.
So most people are parang instead of becoming farmers or fishermen, they're becoming working in the tourism industry.
Like mga tour guide,
Yeah.
surf instructor, kasi mas mabilis yung pera. Unlike sa mag-farmer ka, wala. Mahal magbayad, tapos konti lang yung kita.
Or maghintay ka pa after like 3 months na
For your crop, correct.
Kahit nga yung mga fishermen dito sa GL talaga mismo, wala na. Kaya mahal na din yung mga isda
Yung mga
kasi
isda,
binibili sa ibang municipalities.
So lahat sila nasa Santa Monica.
Oo, doon man.
When I see your stories when your family gets together, I feel like that local culture is still very much alive.
It's still there, yeah.
Okay.
Yun yung pinaka-importante.
We heard of a new vegan restaurant that recently opened up and met the owners Christophe Bariou, a French-Filipino entrepreneur, and his partner Nadine Lustre, a Filipina artist, to chat more about their experience here. Verde serves a delicious blend of Filipino and international vegan dishes. My personal favorites were their naked pizza, metzes, bang bang tofu, and their burgers.
Yeah, I've been here like 10 years now. 2014, as soon as I finished my studies in Paris. But for me, it's kind of natural because my dad came here in the 80s, and he's one of the first foreigner. He's French to explore this area, and eventually he bought some land here with my mom. And yeah, so it's been in the family for almost 40 years. So came here actually the first time when I was 12 years old, and I barely remember. I remember, but I just remember a lot of greens, and it was, yeah, there's nothing pretty
Was
much.
that Rambo's house?
We stayed there actually.
Yeah.
We stayed there. He's a friend of my dad. He was a friend of my dad also. But yeah, and then I just kept on coming, and then around 17, I started surfing and just learning, you know, and I was like, this is actually where I want to live. So that's really how it started. Then 10 years later, I don't know, Nadine, was your first time that you...
It was really back in 2021 when I kind of decided to move here. Came here with a few friends of mine, and I do have a lot of friends that live here for quite a long time now. So, you know, when things kind of started opening up after the pandemic, my friends and I decided to fly here just to visit, you know, our friends who have been living here. And on the way here to GL from the airport, I already told myself, damn, like I feel like I'm gonna end up living here because I discovered during the pandemic that I don't belong in the city. I'm not a city girl. So I was kind of thinking about it, but also met him. So that was a huge. No, I was about to get that.
I know.
So that was a huge factor
Okay.
to that, you know, to moving here.
And so now when you guys say you live here, how much time, let's say in a year, do you spend here versus everywhere else?
You're
I'm
90%
I'm
here.
anchored here for sure. This is really my home, and yeah, 90% maybe. Like apart from just traveling for holiday or visiting Nadine in Manila, sometimes definitely here 90%. And Nadine is like.
Mine is a bit complicated
Yeah,
because
depends.
my work is in
Irregular,
Manila. So what I do is I try to schedule 2 weeks of work in Manila, and then I fly here. If I can, I stay for a month, and then I schedule work towards the end of the next month.
Yeah, I feel like even though it's expanded, that community feels still there.
Yeah.
Even though you don't recognize as many people as you used to, like you'd be able to walk down the street before and be like, oh, that's the owner of that place.
Yeah,
And now
exactly.
you don't really have that.
Actually,
It's still a small island.
Correct.
Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of funny because it's been a topic of discussion since ever, for sure, for years and years with my friends and those who live here for a while, and some locals as well, and how's it gonna become, you know, and oh, we cannot go, we won't be able to go to this spot because it's not secret anymore, you know, that thing really comes up very often. For now, I think we're still pretty happy because we know a lot of secret spots still, especially outside of GL. I'm not going to tell you where exactly. But,
thank you. Now I don't feel special.
I'll show you, but I won't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure, GL gets a bit busy. Yeah, we prefer to go out and explore a bit.
I feel the irony, like I found this throughout all the people that we've been talking to. There's a certain irony to the island. People come here because they want to be peaceful and calm and all that. Yet everyone you meet wants to do something. Like everyone's an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to set something up. You guys have put up, a few businesses and everything like that. Can you kind of talk about what keeps you busy on the island in terms of work?
It was only word of mouth at the beginning, and those people came from Australia or like US, and basically they really love the place and they just try to find an excuse to stay. Right. And that's only when they.
And that's the same for a lot of people.
So that's when they set something
up.
And they were like, oh, I want my friends to check it out, and then so they started building like their own house and a couple of extra rooms, and then that's how it started. So and then I guess everybody until today, that's what people have in mind. Oh, I want to live here and I want to find a reason to live here.
I do have friends who are looking for land, who are thinking of
excuse or
developing
reason
something.
And everyone in the beginning usually starts with restaurants, and then you start thinking, okay, what else can I put up?
Yeah, I was gonna say, but it's always a double-edged sword for sure. Tourism, and we can't control everything. We're just trying to keep that community feel where everybody, we try to always communicate and try to make everyone feel like you're part of something bigger. And we have to put the locals always at the center, and we're trying to keep some circularity. Circular, economy and tourism, because I'm one of those who really believe that it can be used for positive development and conservation, environmental conservation, and to help the Lumas, the local, to benefit from it directly first. For me, I really want to increase the quality and the conservation side of the island, and I don't want to go towards mass tourism. I think it's a big mistake, and obviously we all know that.
And we've seen it happen.
We've seen it happen.
So many different places here,
And it's a very short-term, mentality, and and it won't benefit. The first victims of this will be the locals.
Correct.
There are many stories of people from around the Philippines finding the magic that the island has and eventually trying to create a life here. And even though there's a lot of international food openings, there are still some unmissable local spots that you should check out. Indeed, there are many food concepts around the island, from your favorite inasal to vegan spots and third-wave coffee shops, but this being the Philippines, some carinderias have developed a legendary following from tourists and locals who work here. One of these is TP Food House, which serves home-cooked Filipino favorites that you'll keep coming back for.
Nagbakasyon kami dito nung kasagsagan ng Odette, tapos na experience namin yung paano bagyuhin. Hindi naman kami natinag, bumalik pa rin kami dito at inumpisahan itong TP's Food House. Yung motivation talaga namin mag-asawa is para makasurvive sa buhay. Kasi nung pandemic, nawala kasi lahat sa amin. Kaya pumunta kami dito, Siargao. Yun lang yung parang kumpiyansa kami na talent namin na masarap yung luto namin. Kaya itry na lang namin. Ang best seller is yung lahat ng dishes ng baka. Lalo na yung nilaga. Yun yung parate. Hindi naabuti nung hapon. Kaninang umaga pa lang, ubos na. Tsaka yung sunod, yung mga gulay lahat. Gulay na walang sahog. Sikreto ko lang po, hindi kasi ako matipid sa sahog eh. Kasi isip ko, parang kami din yung kakain. Malaki na yung pag-asenso. Sa awa ng Diyos, araw-araw, pinakakonti na yung 15 kinds. Minsan nung summer, 26 dishes. Parang lutang na talaga ako. Kaya abutin ako alas 4 magluto. Pero blessing din. Stressful siya pero in a way na relaxing. Lalo na pagkatapos kumain ng customer, magpasalamat at nabusog. Masarap na sa feeling, mawawala yung pagod mo. Parang blessing din talaga na punta kami dito. Kung may magtatanong kung saan kakain, dito sa Tipis Food House kasi lutong bahay kami.
Like TP's, JM Carinderia is a roadside eatery that attracts all sorts of diners craving local comfort food at any time of the day.
JM Carinderia, Siargao. 2009, maliit siya. Tapos, palaki ng palaki. Dahil kasi yung mga tao, dumarami na din.
Kahit hindi turista.
Oh,
kahit
dami.
Pinoy, dami. Gusto nila
Ay,
yung
mura.
mga mura lang ang
Mura lang.
ulam namin. Kasi makain na nila kahit 50.
Oh, mura lang
kain
dito.
Na lang kay one rice, 20. Pag mag-half rice gulay sila, 50.
Tapos yung servisyo namin, maganda. Parang close to namin sila, yung mga customer, para babalik sila. Banding kami lahat dito. 24 hours kami, JM Carinderia, Siargao.
Kami magsimula may 5:30. Nya mag-out mi 9 o'clock PM.
Yung papasok, iba naman.
Iba naman.
Kasi may disco. Yan.
Daming tao dito paggabi. Kayo,
dami.
Yung sila mag-party dyan
Oh,
sa
Siargao Beach
harap,
Club,
sa Beach Club, sa
Ilobo.
Ilobo.
Dito sila lahat kumakain ng
Tapos
bulalo.
sila mag-party, kumain sila ng bulalo.
Bulalo.
Palagi
Bestseller.
sila magbabalik dito kasi
Tapos,
torta, binabalikan nila. At saka sinigang, Bicol Express, at saka pang vegetarian. Gusto nila
veggie
vegetarian
gusto
kasi
nila.
ang mga gulay namin walang manok, walang baboy.
Tapos,
Masarap pa.
masarap. Araw-araw natin niluluto, 30 to 40
to
ang
40.
menu.
Pag mga holiday, ang dami, sobra pa. Ang 40, maubos
Kulang
na
pa yan.
Luto pa mi ulit.
As we came to discover during our trip, your Siargao experience is never complete without a bite of freshly baked pan de surf, a bread shaped like a surfboard. This local favorite has been made by the Baginaon family for over 2 decades.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Andito po kami. Gumagawa po kami ng pandikoko at pandisurf. Ito lang po ang hanap buhay namin dito sa GL. Gumagawa kami nitong pandikoko at saka pandisurf. Mga 25 years old na po. Yung pandikoko may palaman, niyog. Tsaka yung pandisurf, walang palaman. Plain lang po yon. Yon ang kaibahan ng pandisurf at saka pandikoko. Pag mag-umpisa kami ng loto, alas 7, mag-ano na kami, magawa na kami niyan. Tapos magpakayod kami ng niyog. Tapos namin pagpakain nyo, pinipiga namin yun. Tapos, yun ang pampalaman dito, ng pandikoko. Tapos pagpiga, tatakal na kami ng harina at saka yung niyog na inaano namin, pinipiga, yun ang hinahalo namin doon sa harina, gata. Ito na nga po ang sikreto, yung gata ang hinahalo dahil parang malambot ang ano. Tapos parang may lasa na niyog talaga. Tapos, niluluto na sinasalang sa sa hornuhan. Marami pong bumibili ng mga gawa namin ng tinapay na pan-dessert o pandikoko. Siyempre, masaya rin kami dahil nagustuhan nila yung gawa namin.
It's an interesting mix because the island is now becoming a gastronomic hub, attracting amazing talent from all over the country and around the world. For Roots, 6 founders, 5 of them worked in Central Peru, one of the best restaurants in the world. One of the founders happened to be married to a Filipina and suggested they moved and started their idea in Siargao. They fell in love with the island and knew that they could create something special and hyper-localized here.
When we first arrived to the island, of course we're not from here and not from Surigao, not from the Philippines. So for us it's very important always to first understand the landscapes where we are, understand the different products that we have locally and in the Philippines in general. And so we start looking for a local guide. So Analyn did us the tour in the beginning, show us all the different plants. And since the first day we met Analyn, we learned so much. And she probably saved our life many times because when we go foraging, we like to try everything and put everything in our mouth. And a lot of times she say, no, 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 no. And thank you very much, Salamat, for that.
And since there, I think more or less one per month, we go outside to different places around Siargao with Analyn. And she's teaching us what it's edible, outside in the nature.
And how it's used traditionally here or in other parts of the Philippines, and why it is used or why not. And for us, this is the basic knowledge to start, learning and developing new things for Roots and for all our projects.
Normally, I never thinking of creating a foraging class. So because of them, I have the hidden knowledge that I had in my mind. Lokal Lab decided to have a foraging class. So they are really my original foraging team. So I told Mark, our CEO in Lokal Lab, that I have this idea because of the Roots people. They're really cooperative to me, they're really good. So we need to broaden our farming industry. Not only farming, bringing to general ulam, but there's great opportunity also to help the community in the other places in the interior area. So because of them, I will launch my foraging maybe next year, so they will be my students. So this is one livelihood to the people.
Initial tour.
The fruiting of this hibiscus will start on September, but this is the really high valued one.
Can we try the leaves?
Yes. I think the small is more sour and more tasty than this.
We will be using these leaves tomorrow or tonight in the carpaccio.
We can harvest if you want.
Yeah,
so while doing the foraging, yes.
Very nice.
Lami. Everything in the way we started Roots is the idea is always to bring our traditional recipes from the countries that we are from and the countries that we've been working in different places of the world. We use 90% of only Filipino ingredients, and we have a 10% of products that we cannot get here in the island and we need to bring from outside. But introducing local products like these are just baby hibiscus leaf. And this one, usually you don't need them, but these one are it's a super sour, tangy flavor. The idea is I think we're humble enough to never try to make Filipino food. We're not Filipino and we're still learning so much, and Philippines is a country with so much biodiversity and cultures that before we could be able to make something real Filipino, I think maybe that's never. So what we're more familiar with is the recipe we grew up with and the recipe we've been done in our career, but always showcasing the incredible Filipino ingredients and Filipino biodiversity.
Yeah, I will say that the starting point is always the recipe. So in this case, for example, the lasagna, and then just trying to see how can we substitute some ingredients with Filipino ingredients. There's no sense here of using maybe Italian wine or Italian beef. So we need to be very resourceful and resilient, adapt to what the nature has to offer to us. Flowers are edible?
Yeah.
Can we try?
Yeah.
Oh, these ones are beautiful, eh? And here medicinal plants, no?
And they are medicinal.
Do you want to bring some to Roots?
Yep.
Analyn, can we get some of these flowers?
Yes.
¿Puedes escribir?
So this is probably one of our favorite forage ingredient from Siargao. So this one locally are called pepinitos. In English it will be creeping cucumbers. And this one we actually first discovered them. We were walking in one of the back roads and we saw some kids throwing these to each other. And they told us that these kids told us this is edible, so we double checked with Analyn. Always important. So this is the unripe fruit that is of a creeping cucumber, and it's a very cucumbery taste, super crunchy, a bit tangy. And this one in the beginning they were not commercialized, but since we start using them, local and other little farms here in Siargao start to sell them to other restaurants and to people to mix in salad and different ingredients in different dishes. And this is something that we think can be very good for different local communities.
Dito sa Siargao Island, ito yung pinaka may malaking nipa na makukuha ka. So endemic siya dito sa Siargao, pero dito sa San Isidro ang may pinaka maraming nipa. So normally our river is 16 kilometers, so surrounded by nipa. And ang pinaprocess lang namin dito is yung pawod. So in Tagalog is pawid. Yun ang ginagamit para sa bubong ng mga bahay. That is one of the livelihood na pero si Roots pa lang ang nag-order sa amin ng nipa flour para gawing recipe sa kanilang restaurants. Normally nipa is like a coconut here in the island. So, diba coconut has so many byproducts. So, ganito rin si nipa. So, maybe in the future, we will invite other agencies of the government who will process byproducts of nipa like nipa sugar and then nipa wine.
Kuya, can we get that small nipa?
Ang kinukuha nila is yung talagang parang we call it in Bisaya punto. So yung tamang-tama lang talaga. Depends sa color. Kasi kapag yung matanda na, so nagda-darken na, so para siyang niyog, pero maliliit lang. But the taste is, for me, perfect kasi meron siyang maalat na lasa.
Mira esta, bebe!
Salamat ka na dyan, kuya.
The most beautiful flower bouquet ever. Beautiful, no?
I will say that when they enter, one thing it will be that we want to tell stories, no? We want to showcase also different collaborators around Philippines. This is an artistic wall installation where we showcase some of the ingredients that we use in the menu. Every night, and that wall is different. And what we want to showcase is how, for us, the protagonist of the experience is the ingredients. And the hands will represent the people who is behind a dish. In this case, it will be the farmers, the fishermen, and everyone who takes care of the ingredients until arrive to our plate. So one of the most iconic elements in Roots is our table. It is a mix between recycled plastic and wood. We've been inspired in a project that is called Precious Plastic. It's a worldwide project. I personalized the machine for my size. I went to different dams in Manila, in Antipolo, looking for trash at the end. What the machine makes is to press the plastic and melt it at the same time. Then we brought these trash boards, and with a group of local carpenters, they call green artisans, we did the join between plastic and wood. Also, a little bit about the lamps. We did it with a group of indigenous women in Cagayan de Oro. They are made with craft paper and ink with atsuete. Every service, I will say, is like to receive people into your house and show them, in this case, what is Philippines through the ingredients, through our recipes, showcase the important or the amazing ingredients that Philippines has.
We will start the briefing in 3 minutes, eh?
So, service night, it's the end of the work, but the most important part too. It's that moment when the guests come in, and it's the moment where you really have to give your best to give the guests the best experience they can have. And we don't just want to feed the stomach, we want to feed the mind too. And this is something that makes us very happy, and we are so proud and humbled by how well we were received, especially from Filipino, because we're not from here. And without the Filipino people's support, we couldn't be able to do anything, to learn anything, and there is so much to learn. And when a Filipino person tells us, oh, I didn't know this was made in the Philippines, we are so proud of that. And I mean, we're proud of the Filipino products, and if a Filipino learns something new from us, for us this is just unbelievably nice.
You would have told me a couple of years ago that you could find something like this in Siargao, and I would be completely dumbfounded. And now to see it happen is absolutely amazing. I love that each of the chefs bring something with them. The restaurant's called Roots, which means that they go down and kind of search within themselves in terms of their culture, their techniques, their skills, their experiences, their roots, and express that in the food using local ingredients.
Okay guys, let's start with the tasting route. Today we have bread, butter, and ampalaya oil. We keep the same ampalaya as the other day,
So when you think about these concepts, it's just amazing because you know the amount of thought and process that went into creating these dishes, and more importantly, how to uplift Filipino ingredients and showcase to everyone here, tourists and Filipinos alike, that we have a lot of food to be proud of. That butter is whipped to perfection, so creamy. Try the olive oil, That ampalaya does give it a slight astringency, acidity, brightness, and bitterness, which are things that you do expect from olive oil. That's so good.
We continue with swordfish carpaccio. We have pilina at sajo blanco, calamansi koshu, and as well herbs today we will have hibiscus leaves, gotu kola, siargao, and nipa flower.
Let's go with the swordfish carpaccio. What impresses me is just the caliber of cooking, the caliber of talent that's here, that is truly world class, and that we get that in the Philippines, but not only in the Philippines, in a tiny island in Mindanao, you get this kind of food. It just shows you the potential of where the island could be going. This is just the beginning of the tasting menu, and I'm already in love with what I'm eating.
We continue with our lazy raviolone, Filipino guayo ragu, sitaw, and borracho goat cheese.
This is the lazy ravioli. So one of the chefs is from Italy, and it's an homage to one of the chefs that he's worked with also. What I love about this, again, continuing in that line of just highlighting and uplifting Filipino ingredients, we have Kitayama Wagyu from Bukidnon. There's some sitaw in there as well, and there's some cheese from Malagos farm, which is a farm obviously in Davao. It's called the Borracho, so it has some dark beer as well in there. Let's cut this up. Whoa. So whatever I'm eating now, you're probably gonna have something really different or versions of it when you come, as the menu constantly evolves. That is so good. It's like a deep, proper, classic ragu with its fat and all its flavor for hours on end. And then that with the goat's cheese that's there, amazing.
We continue with our ceviche, the catch of the day, red snapper. We have coconut tiger milk and pickled sincamas.
It's so bright, so fresh, so absolutely delicate. I could eat like 3 bowls of these. I've said this multiple times, but we're lacking a lot of written history in the Philippines because all of that documentation happened post-Spanish colonization. So one way to kind of trace back our roots, trace back our history, is to understand the ingredients that have been here for centuries with our different indigenous peoples. And seeing that come to light in this kind of format, in this kind of island, with these kinds of chefs, I think is something we should not take for granted and something we should celebrate. So good.
This be fun, boy. See, me and the boys got
From a surfer's paradise, it quickly became a party island, and instead of people coming here to learn how to surf, many started coming to explore the island, but also to party hard. But even with alcohol, you can still promote local culture. For those in the industry, they will know how instrumental Filipino bartenders were in the development of tiki cocktail culture when it first blossomed in the United States.
Put your hands up to the rooftop, lively up, we can party till we can't stop. Fill up the cup, rise it up for me, Jamaica. We going up, rise it up for me, Jamaica.
Manu aims to bring that heritage to life by focusing on local adaptations of classic cocktails and their unique take on this style of drinks.
I got so happy when I see kind of like this level of dedication and sophistication with drinks in general. Quick background, I used to own a cocktail bar, and so I kind of understand the amount of work that goes behind crafting cocktails. If you never really gotten into it, you don't know that it can actually be as intense as recipe and food development. And so here, it's exactly what we've been talking about throughout this whole episode. You have some of the greatest talents from all over the world who see Siargao as a potential, thank you very much, as a potential second home to, you know, plant their flag, to do something special. But not only that, to really contribute to the Siargao culture, but also the local Filipino culture. The head bartender, Adam, and the owner, his wife is Cebuana. And so as you can see around us, you know, it's not a foreign concept. They're really utilizing Filipino culture and showcasing it through the drinks, through the decor, really coming to life with that tiki story and that tiki ethos and utilizing our local flavor profiles and everything. If you're wondering, I am not alone. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 people behind the camera. So I'm not an alcoholic. Salud.
Siargao has so much more to offer, from white sand beaches, long treks through coconut fields, hidden discoveries, island hopping, mangrove tours, and all the things that make the Philippines special. Spend a few days here, and I guarantee you'll want to extend a few weeks. You might even be tempted to move here.
Closing thoughts. I've really had to think hard about this. The one question I kind of wanted to answer by coming back here and actually shooting, I do come back quite often, was whether or not that initial magical seed that everyone talks about when coming to Siargao is still there. And I think you need a little bit of a historical context to kind of understand it. I know this might get very deep, so just bear with me for those of you who actually watch the video till the end. But I'm reading a book by Nick Joaquin, which is called Culture and History, and it says that the Philippine history doesn't necessarily start before 1521, because that's our only record of written history. Before that, it's oral traditions that have been passed down. But even then, those are very scarce, right? And it just shows you that the Philippines is still a very, very, very young nation, and we were kind of built, and our culture is built around an amalgamation of local indigenous cultures, plus foreign influences, plus modern influences, and it's what makes us kind of Filipinos. But before we were dubbed the Philippines, we were really just a landmass, an archipelago with lots of different chieftains, lots of different tribes. So when you travel to Tawi-Tawi and you go up north to Kalinga, you can tell there are very huge cultural differences between those two peoples. And understanding that makes you understand what is a Filipino. And I feel like Siargao is that. It's an island that probably before anyone came here, any foreigners came here, was just a really peaceful island with lots of coconuts, not necessarily any surfing because the foreigners were the ones who brought that. And just like any other island in the Philippines, obviously blessed with natural beauty. The only thing I would hope is that if things are going to keep developing, which they will, it's that they're done well, they're done sustainably, that no one exploits the land more than it has to be, that we make sure we find agricultural and environmental systems that don't ruin the island and don't ruin its ecosystem. But when you hear things like building an international airport and building a port to accommodate, cruise ships that carry 3,000 people, that's when I start kind of drawing the line of when development starts getting scary. By having people going through Manila, Davao, or Cebu to fly to Siargao, you kind of minimize the amount of people that can fly to the island. You have ro-ros and ships and stuff like that as well. So you can kind of grow, but grow slowly. However, if you tell me 3,000 people are gonna arrive tomorrow, those people are not gonna spend an overnight here. They're gonna come out of the boat, try a few restaurants, go back on their boat, and then go on their way. And that, for me, is not necessarily very sustainable. So I really hope that, one, it would be selfish to think that, you know, only a few people can enjoy Siargao. Everyone should be allowed to enjoy it. But I hope that it's done so smartly, and I hope that the people who live here, who create businesses here, the people from around the Philippines who have invested in the island, but more importantly, the government, makes sure that that growth is done sustainably and always making sure that it benefits both the locals, but also the local environment.